Hello, guys. Welcome back to the Dancing Heart podcast. In this week's episode, I have invited the one and only Lisa Letourneau. Lisa is an erotic power and reclamation coach. She helps others to reconnect with themselves, reclaim their erotic power and artistic expression. Is there anyone I could think about that is the perfect person to help you with that? It's Lisa. Lisa has 14 years of experience from the stripping industry. She's been traveling around the world, making art, working in music festivals. She has really liberated so much of her expression. So I'm super excited to dive deeper into the conversation with Lisa today. But first of all, welcome to the show, Lisa.
Thank you so much for having me, Torny, and thank you for the wonderful intro. I'm so excited to get into this with you here today.
Me too. I feel it's so aligned because we are recording this on the full moon in Capricorn. Jupiter just went into Leo, which is all about expression, taking up more space and
Mm.
shining your light and not hiding parts of yourself. And today we're going to dive deeper into the topics of how to break out of the pattern of self abandonment and how to reclaim your power. And we also probably going to touch up on some of the topics of patriarchy and, being a woman in a male dominated industry. And yes, before we dive into these topics, I want to hear more about your story, Lisa. Like, how did everything start for you? Like, how did you end up being a stripper for 14 years?
Yeah, it's probably not what I would have expected. I would have done with my life, but I'm like really proud. And when I look back on my story, I think it's a fascinating tale of just being really resourceful and creative. So it began. Well, I think an important piece of context is that I was raised Catholic in the American South, so that's a very conservative area where sex and sexuality, also even just talking about money in my upbringing, like all of that was so taboo. And so whenever I started college, I was needing to pay for it and became a dancer. And little did I know that would kind of open up this like crazy journey where I did finish my degree and I thought I was going to work in advertising, but the dancing allowed me to have a level of freedom in my life that, and also like money, like financial success relative, to where I was and my age in life, and then so much freedom to be able to control my schedule that by the time I graduated, I was like, does it make sense for me to get a full-time job? And in college, I had read a book by Tim Ferriss called The 4 Hour Work Week, and it was all about lifestyle design. And he has a bunch of ideas about like working, some or usually being like some entrepreneurial path in order to go live abroad for a while. And I'd never heard of somebody doing that. And so it kind of started this new like reality in my mind of like, oh, I could like travel and explore and live this different lifestyle. And I thought I needed to build a specific business for it to happen, but actually stripping was the one that allowed me to do that. So yeah, I started travel dancing all around the US. I even got a visa and went to Australia and travel danced, and I had so much interest in travel and exploration that I just discovered that there's actually a path for that through dancing. And then I started working music festivals as well, because I love art and festivals and was making, would sometimes be working festivals making art, and the rest of the time stripping or just doing whatever like I had a lot of
Yeah.
free time. And it just created so much expansion. And actually, the strip club became the thing that I'm trying to figure out like how I want to describe, but it highlighted so much of like what is my work now? Like it didn't create any of the dynamics. It just brought everything to the surface. And I think like any good shadow work, um, that that's kind of how it goes. Like when you start to explore the thing that's a little taboo or that you're afraid of, and then you discover that it's not inherently like necessarily good or bad in itself, but it brings up the problems that are like already existing within your life and also within our culture.
I
Or
can
I should say
imagine.
global culture. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Mhm.
mean, like the strip club was kind of like your stage, and you didn't like, you were just expressing like your body as an artwork, and you were able, I loved your expression of travel dance. I never heard anyone talking about that, but so fun. And you got to travel the world, and you got to
Mhm.
do your what you and you got to have fun, you got to connect with people, and also like you said, having some of the shadows coming into the spotlight, maybe in a more unexpected way, because I'm sure that when you are exposing yourself, like I mean when you are just on that stage and you have, I'm sure like 100% male viewers or people in the club, or I'm sure there's a lot
Probably
of,
like 95% male viewers, depending on the city. Sometimes there are more couples, or sometimes there are groups of women that come in, but mostly male.
yeah. And I'm sure, like
Mhm.
being in this male dominated environment, I don't know anyone, with this experience that you have. And you've been in this industry for 14 years before you transitioned out. Yeah. And now you are coaching others into breaking out of the pattern of self-abandonment. And you are the one that's been, really been embodying everything over, I mean, the past 1.5 decades or 2 decades. And what did this specific journey teach you about your patterns of self-abandonment being in this industry, or and also in the environment?
Oh my gosh, so much. Yeah, I was trying to kind of chart like what I would call my like moments of reckoning, because I have like a pretty big dancer network and have met just some of the coolest women over the years, and friends in the industry. And I think it's pretty common, and I don't know about other people's career paths, but I presume, you like get to a point where you're like, ugh, some things are really driving me crazy. Do I want to continue or do I want to stop? And like, you have to like get real with yourself about like, if there's something that you can change or if you can't deal with this. And as I was thinking about like the strip club, so as I mentioned, I grew up very conservative, very religious, a lot of like sexual shame. And so when I started dancing, like I was drawn to it, but then part of me was like so deeply ashamed. Like I felt like I was doing something really bad and wrong, which I think very differently about it now. But whenever I would have challenges at the club, especially regarding boundaries, like there were some boundaries that for me were just like absolutely not. But then there were others that seem like more casual, that like a lot of men feel entitled to. And honestly, as the journey's gone on, this has expanded. Like you would think like physical access, of course, is like a part of the boundaries, but now there's so much like emotional, energetic pieces. But anyways, at the time, I was just having a really hard time managing like people's expectations and dealing with like predatory men. Of course, I was young when I started, so I was like 19. I really didn't know much about like how to stand up for myself and how to ask for what I want, how to say no. Like I had some sense of it. It's not like I was like being trafficked or anything, but I think that a lot of young women struggle with this in their like relationships with men and their probably friendships if they're working. So anyways, I want to like really clarify because I think it can be easy when someone is working in an area that's taboo to make a lot of assumptions. But I really want to highlight that the struggles, I think, are things that all women struggle with. So they were just becoming so obvious to me because, maybe um, most women have maybe dated like a couple men or maybe 10 men in their lives or maybe more. But like the amount of men that they've dealt with in like an intimate basis is small. Where for my industry, I'm basically doing like speed dating and I'm having repetitive experiences with men over and over and over and over again. And so any of the like lingering issues that may be in your normal relationship, you might be like, well, I don't know, he's like a nice guy, like he's a little pushy, but I'm just not sure. Like having the repetition made it so um intense for me that at the beginning I was like, I'm just being punished, maybe by God for doing something bad. Like maybe just the industry's bad. And now I see it's like scapegoating.
Mm-hmm.
So at first I really had to figure out how to be able to like create boundaries about like what I was comfortable with and what I wasn't comfortable with. And that was a very, very long journey to mastery. I feel like I'm probably at least like 80% there. Like there's always, more to grow. But I would
Yeah.
say my first like moment of reckoning was when I had been dancing for a little while. I've been travel dancing. I was working in South Carolina and I was in college. So when I would go to dance on the weekends, like I was drinking a ton in college and I would just be drinking. And then when men would like behave in ways that I perceived as like disrespectful or like rejecting me after like wasting my time and I was drinking because I would normally party at school. So I was like, I'm gonna party here. Um, I would get so mad and eventually I would get like completely dysregulated where it was really hard for me to like bounce back and be able to do my job. And so I was like, okay, this is not working. So I dialed back my drinking majorly and then I realized that I didn't know how to talk to people in this environment. And I was like, okay, I could give up, or obviously there's something that I need to learn here. So I took a sales course class and I realized like, oh, this isn't just partying, this is a job.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's so silly, but when
I
you're 21,
Of
people are.
course. And I mean like boundaries, I think it's the thing that so like including myself, that is the
Hmm.
topic that is repeating like over and over and over again. And I just can't imagine you like in this specific environment, like how much your boundaries has been, like pushed because of this environment. And I'm just wondering,
Hmm.
like, did you make an intention before you like went to work? Like, okay, this is my boundaries today. Like, this is always my boundaries. Or was it hard for you to really, I mean, sometimes it's hard to hold the energetics of the boundaries because there are just like so many people. Like, I mean, 95% of the men.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It honestly was such a long journey. I wish that I could say like one day I was like, this is always not okay. Um, but yeah, I did get into like, especially later on where I would do specific like manifestations and imagining like how I wanted people to treat me throughout the shift and like money that I wanted to make. But I think the like power literacy was probably the biggest part of this because when I started, I was still more in like a childlike um, attitude, and I really credit a lot of the like patriarchal conditioning and religious conditioning, which can go together really well, of like being really nice, being really accommodating, not asking for things, not needing things, like just trying to not make waves and make everything nice for everybody. Like I wanted to seek out like win-wins and everything. but I didn't realize that I was in an environment where a lot of people are like trying to win exclusively. Like they view a lot of your dynamics as like a fight of some sort to like see who can get the most. So at the beginning, when I'd be like, hey, I actually, this is the voice, like, actually don't want you to do like touch me in that way. If you could just not do that. Like you can hear it's like very
Yeah,
frail, very
of course.
unsure, like asking for permission, like, hey, could you like any I'll say any abusive man, but I think anyone, but especially people that don't have good intentions, are gonna feel that energy and just see an opportunity to like push you around as like a
Yeah.
way to validate how powerful or strong they are. It's like the kind of I want to like conquer you because you seem like easy prey. Like, ew. Um, and then as time shifted, I was able, especially with like, there's like regular, like physical touch boundaries, emotional boundaries, information boundaries, and then like drinking boundaries. And I got to kind of experience each of those as its own like growth arc over time. Like when I started to see the club as like my little laboratory of
Like an
figuring out how to
experiment.
yes, yes. Yeah, one of the other reckoning points I was struggling with boundaries and was like, the club might be maybe it's just bad or evil and I'm being punished. And eventually I had like a moment with myself where I was like, what is the problem at the club? What is the hard part about the club? And I was like, people are touching me and I have to deal with them in that way and it's so hard and they're so pushy. And I was like, okay, does that show up anywhere else in your life? And then I looked at the romantic relationship that I was in. And I was like, yes. I looked at, some of the other work I was doing, like different work environments that I found myself in, like festivals and other dynamics. I looked at my relationships with like some acquaintances, friends, family, and was like, oh no, this is
Like,
everywhere.
like shit. It's not just here.
Yeah.
It's just like it just makes it. Yeah, I know. It just feels like, oh, it's actually quite big. Where to
Mm-hmm.
start? So
Yeah.
yeah, and I think like I really like you figuring out that by yourself, like looking in the mirror and be okay, asking yourself these questions. And I think that's super brave as well. And like,
Thank you.
okay, I'm gonna change this. And when you were sharing this, I was just thinking about myself working in the bar, and we had male artists coming in, and they were also kind of like pushy all the time, like, no, I don't want to, like, no, I need to go, like, no, I don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
It was hard to say no. So yeah, I can
Yeah.
also resonate with part of your story, even though it wasn't the same, but I
Yeah.
think we all have been there. And how did you start to then, slowly change that pattern and break out and slowly taking your power back?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, well, first of all, I want to say thanks for that. Like, I think each of us, if we really reflect on it, has at least one, if not a lot, of areas in our life where we've experienced this level of like pressure. I think it's really a product of like having lived in a patriarchal world where like there's a lot of contests and domination and hierarchy and stuff. So,
Yes.
and also sometimes I look back at me like having the clarity to ask myself if this pattern was showing up in other areas. I'm like, that's kind of crazy. I'm honestly, I feel shocked as well that that bit of wisdom came to me. I don't even know where it came from.
I mean, you are an
Hmm.
Aquarius moon with so much Aquarius energy, so I'm like, could be.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. I think sometimes I wonder if it's like some past life stuff. But anyways, I had this moment where I was like, is this showing up in other places? And I was like, oh, actually, whoops, it's everywhere. And then I made an agreement with myself where I was like, okay, so the strip club is not the source of the problem. It is just highlighting the problem. And if it wasn't bringing it to my attention, this would be running rampant in my life as it already is. So I made a choice that I was going to use the strip club as like my little personal laboratory to like figure out what this pattern is and how to resolve it. And I get so many repetitive opportunities to work on it that yeah, basically it just took a very, very long time of for me, but I feel like I have more awareness now of what the dynamic is. So part of my like goals with coaching would be to help people be able to move through this hopefully in a faster way. And actually, I think one of the biggest parts, aside from practice, repetition, courage, willingness to tolerate discomfort, is that I was working in environments with other women who are really bold. Like, I think there's a lot of assumptions that people make about strippers, and there's like the technical umbrella is like sex workers. So, there's like strippers, full service people, dominatrixes, cam girls. There's like so many people, and I've had the extreme pleasure of getting to connect with a lot of them. And I think, one of the like stereotypes that culture uses to demonize women who are profiting off of their like eroticism is like, oh, they don't respect themselves. And sure, there may be some people here and there that don't respect themselves, but actually, I feel that I have learned the most self-respect um, from other sex workers. Like, I've seen them model, even in my early days when it was like I was 19 and like really didn't have um, I didn't have the lived experience or personal power reclaimed yet to be able to like really own it. But the other dancers did tell me, they were like, you don't have to do anything that you don't want to do. You can charge them extra for everything. They want to put their hand on your knee, extra. They want to do literally everything extra. And I was like, oh my gosh, I just even feel guilty asking for money in the first place. That's way too hard. Um,
You right? Yeah, like like okay, can I ask for that? Can I ask for more? And like,
hmm
oh my God, yeah, this is I mean, it's such a great way to learn about you can ask for more, you can be more powerful, you can have limits, and you can receive more by
Yes,
having more boundaries as well. And I feel
yes,
like, wow, you have learned so much about self-worth, about receiving through this
mhm,
process, like through your experience.
yes. And actually, something that's like a bit of a mindfuck in the industry is like um, the less that I give to them, the more money I get. Like at the beginning, I thought, and because, there's a bunch of old men that are just looking, they're like gold digging in their own ways of like trying to see just how much they can get from you. And so at first I thought every person's end goal was like they were hoping or wanting to like sleep with me or something. And while I think like sure that is some people's goal, I started to realize as time went on, like there's so many more pieces on the board. There's like sure sexual access for some, like some people aspire, some people succeed, not necessarily with me, but like that's like what their experience is coming into the club. But many others are looking for your emotional energy. A lot of strippers end up being like therapists. And I've held so many people's confessions and secrets about their lives. It's really, really interesting. But also, like, just my time sitting with someone, paying attention to them, leaning in, focusing on the conversation. Like, I didn't realize how much every single thing that I did was valuable until I gave them away for free and noticed that the other person, like their body language and energy was like saying that they got what they wanted from me. And then I was like, Wait a second. Wow, I think literally everything I do is actually so valuable. It's awesome.
Yeah. I mean,
Hmm.
of course. They also want your attention. I can also resonate with that working in a bar, and there's a lot of men like hanging out in a bar, and you give them
Hmm.
some attention, and they just want to talk, like about their problems, whatever. And I can imagine there's similarities in the strip club.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
and a lot of dancers are so bold as to be like, you need to give me money to talk to me. It's money, like all of my time and energy that you want. Like we can hang out here and talk about your life for the next 30 minutes for, like $500, okay? And I've had people pay me thousands of dollars to go to the VIP to just talk about like their deceased mom. Um, and to just
Wow.
have a person like care. Like, and a lot of dancers that I know, like, this isn't all the time, but a lot of them end up like holding them while they're crying about something because for some reason it's like a place where a lot of men feel comfortable to be vulnerable. And then of course, I want more of these people, so I'm putting that out into the world. But some of my friends get like more kinky people who just want to like massage their feet or have some other like exploration that's kind of in like the BDSM kink world. So yeah, it was expansive for me to realize because I think a lot of women internalize the belief, like whether we're totally aware of it or not, that like our sexual availability is like one of the most important things about us in like patriarchy, but actually literally every ounce of your time and attention and even things, like dirty socks or panties, like men will pay for everything. It's crazy.
So
Hmm.
how I'm just curious to know, you said the less that you give, the more that you receive. And
Mhm.
then did you decide the prices by yourself, or were you just able to, could you ask for anything? Was there one time that you were like, let me just ask for like this amount and I don't care if it's going to give it to me. And then you actually got surprised because the person said, yes, here we go.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I really want to get even more audacious. The best dancers are the ones that are asking for like some may say crazy amounts of money just to see, because sometimes people will be like, okay. Um, but yeah, at first I thought like that, like for example, in some clubs, like some clubs have different rules. So some of them do try to streamline the prices, but it's not very ethical. The way that strip clubs used to be in like the 90s and 2000s was that the dancers always made their own price.
Mm-hmm.
So I received a lot of like guidance from older dancers when I began and sought it out on like strip club, like stripper chat rooms. There used to be a website called Stripper Web where
Okay, but that's great that you got a community with some support and resources.
Yeah, there's other people that have made newer apps. There's one called the Dancers Resource, and anyways, the dancers are very, very innovative in the tech space right now. But anyways, I got a lot of like guidance about what to do and what not to do. And because I traveled so much, I got a lot of perspective. So I could tell when I was in a club that was conducting their business unfairly, which really made me want to get more
Yeah.
like litigious, but I did not. Um, but so, for example, like when I started working in Portland, like beginning in Tennessee, the clubs would do like $20 for a single song, or I don't know what the dancers were doing there, because it could be, again, so many of them are hustlers, where they could be selling 30 minutes for like 300, 400, $600. Then when I moved to Portland, in most of Oregon, it's three songs for 100. And then I don't remember, I don't know, I don't think they had any prices set, But yeah, some clubs will range between like $200 to $800. In Austin right now, it's usually like 1,000 or $1,200 for an hour. But like when I worked in New Orleans recently, I think the clubs range from like 400 to $1,000 per hour for the dancer. And then some of the dancers I met there were like, we did a group room with like four dancers, and one of them was like, "Okay, babe, let's go over there and we'll run $1,000 tip for each of us." And the guy was like, "Okay."
Oh my God,
He was
like
like,
so fun though.
"Yeah, so
And
much of it is about like telling, not asking." I've been learning.
and I'm sure like these are some of these experiences in terms of, like receiving and asking for more and, receiving the price that you want has been
Mhm.
so valuable for you in other areas of your life as well. Like I can just imagine.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Like beginning asking for $20, like the amount of just mm, scarcity mindset around money in my childhood. Like we weren't poor, but I think there's poverty in the previous like family history. And
Yeah.
so I grew up like thinking that we were poor and just having a really negative relationship with money and asking. And so like I think I had mentioned at a different time. But previous to dancing, I had only worked jobs where I was paid $7.25 an hour. And then when I started dancing, I was getting paid $20 for 3 minutes. And of course, men were like complaining about it. Like, oh, that's so much money. And at the time, I was like, it is so much money. I know. 'Cause I'm like a kid. But anyways, asking for $20 felt like, oh my gosh, so much money. And then as I traveled, I was like, okay, I need to raise my prices. And with each at first tiny hike of like $30 a song, and then finally $40 a song, like I would feel so nervous and have to deal with people like pushing back because they want to see if I'll fold. And then eventually up to like $100 is now the minimum to like $500 is really like what you should spend to spend some time with me to being like, yeah, it's only $1,000. It's only $1,400. Like, let's go. But
Yeah.
experiencing it more and more, I'm like, oh, I don't think I had a real frame of reference for like what my time and energy is worth in the world. I thought it was really low, and then life has shown me that it's actually really high. And I don't think that it's like obviously I'm pretty, but like it's not exclusively because of that, because I have met so many women in both stripping and other fields, and like it is not necessarily related to the beauty standard of like how much money people are willing to give you. It's more about you feeling deserving and feeling so sure in your energy, or at least trying to, and
Yeah.
then people just giving it to
Yeah, I was just about to say it. It's an energetic game behind everything as well.
you.
Um,
Hmm.
and I'm sure like you didn't know you were going to become a coach when you were in at that time. Everything that you learned from that experience is just so like so relevant for the work that you're doing now as a
Yes.
coach.
Yes. Yeah, it's I think the energy literacy and the power literacy pieces are some of the biggest. Like the transition from being like, I'm sorry, can you give me $20? To now, most of the time, I'm like, yep, so I like to start out with three songs for 100. And I do ask, like, does that work for you? Because I work in a club where annoyingly a lot of the men are used to $20 songs, so I want to like get to the point of whether or not that's out of their price range. And some of them will be like, oh, well, I'm used to doing 20, or can you do 30? What if you did this and that? Um, and I'm just like, no. Anyways, good luck. I'm sure somebody else will. And like I've tried every iteration of like that's actually messed up because you don't respect me. And in like the 1990s, it was $20 for dances and inflation. Like I have gone through every single explanation of why. And also in dances where like now in lap dances, um, people's privileges for me are extremely limited, and some of them
Mm.
get upset because other people at my club will charge them less and allow them to touch them more. And I say, you can do this, you can't do this, but I'll do this instead. And if you want to have a different experience, then you'll have to come to the VIP, where they're spending like more money. And I always get my money first, which that is really, I actually have a lot of
Oh,
thoughts about that.
yeah.
I think that one's actually something that's really relatable to women in general, especially if you're dealing with men, is I have noticed every time that I've given men the benefit of the doubt and experimented with this, they usually take advantage and behave very poorly. Where at first I always got my money at the end, even though the dancers told me not to, but I was too afraid because they would be like, "You don't trust me?" And at the time I was like, I'm sorry." And now I'm like, "Why the fuck would I trust you? I don't know you. You are a stranger. That is insane to ask me." The money first part is
Yeah.
the absolute game changer, and I didn't realize how much. And it's all about power. Where I think when you are the person who is conditioned to be like the prey in this dynamic, so like as a woman, you're taught to like be kind and easy and so helpful and just like accommodating and like we think that this is about being nice or being moral, and sometimes those things are nice and moral, but within the context of dealing with men in like a patriarchal world who are seeing each dynamic, like every conversation with you is like a competition that they want to win and they want to get something out of. So if they have that attitude and you're like, "I don't know, I'm just like a kind, loving person who just wants to be nice," like you're basically turning off your brain, you're
Mm.
turning off your self-protection and making it easier for them to try and get what they want from you. And so I discovered that when you demand investment, like they have to have skin in the game, they have to, um, yeah, they have to put something in order to get to have this experience with you, then they know that if they mess up, you now have the power, which you should, because if you're putting yourself in a vulnerable position with a man, you should have some sort of power ahead of time. Because let me
Yes.
tell you, it feels terrible if they haven't paid you, then they behave very poorly, they try to assault you, and then you're like, "That was messed up." And then they're like, "Actually, I don't want to pay you." Like the moment that they have the power, then they abuse it. Like you can see, I can see in their eyes where they're like, "Wait a moment, I could really fuck with her right now." It's so, so bad, but it happens like clockwork. Where whenever I demand, and then I have found that explaining is useless. The best explanation is that's just how I do my business. And if they
Just be,
like it,
yeah.
yeah.
Just
If
be
they're
very
cool with it.
clear,
Mm-hmm.
clear in
Yeah. And
communication,
mm-hmm.
and
And no
without any question mark, like this is how it is.
yep.
Take it or
Yeah.
leave it.
Yeah. Any more communication just gives them room to see if they can talk you out of your own standards. And if they want to talk you out of your standards, then they're probably gonna try and push you and be predatory and poorly behaved and leave you, maybe emotionally damaged. Um, so
Wow, you have been in so many situations and you have learned so much about having boundaries, standing in your power, and just really like holding it energetically and be like, this is it. If you don't like it, you can leave. I'm not here to be liked. This is the woman who knows her worth, like reclaimed her power. And it's so interesting what this does in the patriarchal environment.
mhm,
And now we
mhm,
are in a time where more and more women are taking back their power. So the whole dynamics is about it's changing because of
Yes.
that. And that's like,
Mm-hmm.
it's so important that the work that you are doing and leading the way for other women. And I know you have
Yes.
so much to say about the patriarchy, and just like, for women to stand in their power to change this. We need
Mm-hmm.
women like you, Lisa, with the
Thank
voice,
you.
like sharing from your own experience and expressing. Yeah.
Thank you. So incredibly important, and this also transfers over to like so many different things. Lately, I'm unmarried, but I've been getting a lot of I have other women who think like me in my algorithm talking about like how to do like a marriage prenup where, there's like a really unfortunate trend of where women will marry a man and, he wants to have kids so badly, so she quits her job, has kids with him, and then afterwards he decides that he wants to just divorce her for someone much younger, and she's left without a work history, without skills, she's not able to make much money if she didn't continue her career while she was raising children. It's like a really, or it may be different in Norway. I hope it is. I think the US has like some of the worst support for mothers. But anyways, there's a trend where women will get into a marriage and give so much of themselves and then walk away like nearly destitute or having to like completely start their lives over. And so when I think about like this principle of like getting money first, um, and how that can be applied to like our larger life, like I saw an example of a woman saying like she had multiple clauses in her prenup for her marriage of like if you cheat on me, then I get this amount of the assets, or like if you like normally if we split we get 50-50, but if you change your mind about wanting kids and you divorce me for a woman that's 20 years my junior to have kids, then it switches to 90% of your assets. And like that may feel
Yeah.
kind of intense, but if you are entering into a dynamic where you're, I mean, some could say like giving away the best years of your life, but you're spending your youth, your body, you're giving so much. Like, we really need to protect ourselves financially and for our futures. And ideally, any man who like cares about you, like truly cares about you, will want you to be financially secure. And someone that like respects you will want that for you too. And so, yeah, I think the power dynamic stuff is so crucial. There's lots of ways to think about it in our lives, but sometimes I think as women, we're sold a lot of fantasies about romance, which like romance can be amazing, but also like, we have to take care of our material needs. Like you can be having your beautiful romantic ideals, but if you're like struggling and you don't have enough money to like pay for your medical bills and support your kids, like that's not going to be enough. And also like another little trope about, women of like, oh, a gold digging woman, she's so shallow, she likes money. And like it again comes back to like the taboo around money, where like, sure, some people can become materialistic to a point where they're like disconnected from their heart, they're disconnected from community, and that's not good. But also, we live in a world where you need money to be able to take care of your mental health, your physical health, to live in a safe and clean environment. Like, none of those things need to be bad or wrong. It just is the general facts of life. And if you're willing to take on the risk of engaging with a man, especially, one where you don't know what the future is going to hold, I think it's just, there's no correct exact answers, but I think it's a different conversation for women to be having of like, what does it look like for me to really be looking out for myself financially and in my well-being for the long term?
Yeah, and I think it's good that women thinks about that and really ask themselves some questions and have some
Hmm.
standards and like really put themselves first and thinking about their future as well, and not just diving into this with their, I don't know, with their head and heart
Hmm.
first and don't thinking about anything else. So, yeah.
Yes, yeah, I think that really connects back to like obviously self-abandonment, and
Yeah.
also lately I've been thinking a lot about codependency, which like almost everybody's codependent in some way or another. Like it's not like a, I don't think it's like a demonizing word or like a call out phrase to acknowledge that like this is just something that a lot of us have been like
Yeah.
socialized into. But I've been celibate actually for the last 2 years. And so I haven't slept with anyone. And I have like cuddled with a few people and like outside of work, obviously. But like whenever I have, I've noticed this like rush. Like my body is like, oh wow, connection and touch feels so good. And then like a little fantasy will start of like, wow, what if this turned into something that was na, 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 na. And then even afterwards, like after a day, the next day, my brain started like my brain loves to do songs, but it was like lonely, I'm so lonely. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I'm so lonely. It's like I've been single for I mean, for the most part, like 7 years. I've been celibate for two. Like I'm so independent in my life, and I was like, who is this? And like then, I was like, had to work through it of like, okay, even if anything were to work out, this man is a human and he will probably disappoint me. And also, I'm already creating a life that's so beautiful, and I actually know how to make myself feel good, and let me go do that. But after I went on this arc, I was like, whoa, no wonder when I was younger, like more so in my personal, like romantic world, like that was like my favorite addiction of like feeling unwell in some way in my life emotionally, and then seeking this like fantasy escape in like a man who doesn't actually have the capacity to fulfill most of the fantasies that I have. And then it would start these little addictive cycles of like escaping, doing the hard work of like building my life, building my business, like really doing the self-actualization things. I would just be like, this feels like a lot. Maybe if I just had a man or I did something with a man and then it would just make me like insert fantasy about this somehow actually like changing everything in my life. Like when you think about people that struggle with like substance addiction, or any other kind, it's like always about escaping the discomfort and the pain. And so I
Yeah.
think that the codependency and love addiction can be this way that doesn't seem, super problematic in the way that like an alcohol or drug addiction would, but it just, yeah, it becomes this like habitual escape from dealing with like the hard, real stuff of like healing your relationship with yourself and building the life that you love.
I know. And what you share, like, oh, we have some a little taste of connection, and then it turns into this whole fantasy story, and then we dive like 5 years into the future, and then we're like lost in that for some days until like, hey, reality check. What's going
Yes.
on here? And it's so
Mm-hmm.
interesting, like so fascinating that we are, I don't know, just that way. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's super fascinating. Yeah. How do you work with helping other women to break out of self-abandonment? And what is the pattern that you see is like the most common in, yeah, in that sense
Mm-hmm.
for others?
Yeah. I think centering men or and flesh or just centering other people in general. It's like instead of inhabiting your body as like you are the subject of your life, like the main character, if you will, your sense of self is like through an outward lens of constantly thinking about how other people are going to be perceiving you or how your behavior might impact other people, which that it can be so tricky because so much of the conditioning for women, especially if you grew up in like a religious environment like myself, the morality of it all can be one of the biggest, most stickiest parts because it feels like that's the correct thing to do. Like you should care about your impact on other people. And like to a certain extent, yes, that is moral, but also only focusing on that and not also focusing on you and feeling your own like deservingness to like boundaries, safety, satisfaction, getting your needs met. If it's completely out of balance, then that's also a problem. So there's
Of
like
course.
somewhere in the middle where like you don't want to become selfish or like so selfish and narcissistic that you like don't care about other people at all. But I think a lot of women would benefit from figuring out their relationship to, you could say selfishness, but
Mm,
prioritizing yourself more because one of the main patterns that we see with women, I'm sure, I feel like this is globally for sure, is like autoimmune conditions, where a lot of women abandon themselves, prioritize other people, keep on going and going and going and trying to make everybody else around them happy and comfortable. And then your own body is like screaming. Um, I don't know if you've read any of the work by Gabor Mate, but he has a really great book, When the Body Says No. And in some of their like interviews in hospitals, like the nurses know the people that have ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease because they're characterized by being really, really, really nice, which seems like
wow.
seems like, oh, they're a nice person. But when you dig a little deeper into niceness can also be self-abandonment and being not feeling deserving enough to acknowledge your own needs and wants to your own detriment to the point where your body is like having a war with itself.
Mhm. Yeah, wow. It's such a huge topic, and I feel like this is, yeah, thank you for bringing this up and just like
Mhm.
really highlighting that. And I think it's important, like be more selfish, think more about yourself. And the confidence, I mean, like you have, you use your body as like a art and expression. How has that impacted your confidence and relationship to your own body? I mean, because a
Oh my
lot of
gosh.
us, yeah, I mean, I just wanted to ask you this because when you are like, this is your art and just being on stage and being in the spotlight and being seen like so much and being so exposed, I mean, it must do so much to your confidence and self esteem that a lot of women are struggling with as well. The
Yes.
relationship to your own body.
Yeah, this is really an important point actually, and it is a moment to give men actually some love. Um, as you know, I can be harsh on them, but
Yeah.
when I began, like many women, my body dysmorphia was like insane. I think, at the time I was even smaller than I am now, but like living through a lot of the media of the 90s and 2000s, like America's Next Top Model, I feel like did a lot of damage where women that were like 90 pounds were like, I'm overweight.
I
And
know. Yeah.
yeah, I look back as an adult and I'm like, oh my God, I was so beautiful the whole time. It's so heartbreaking. But I, did not feel good about my body, but I would go and just dance and dissociate and like, some days I'd be feeling good about myself like when I first started, and other days I'm like feel bloated and not good at all, and I'm having a really distorted opinion about how I'm relating to my body. And men would actually just be like, "You're so beautiful and perfect. You're amazing." And I'd be like, "Really?" And eventually it helped to kind of like create a wedge. And I think that this could also be just like the power of repetition of like kind messages to yourself. It doesn't always have to come from men specifically, but I kept on getting so many kind messages that eventually I was like, maybe my brain's messed up.
Mm.
Maybe
See?
I just need to like not trust my brain about this. And I got better at like feeling the feeling of like, oh no, I feel so like bloated and this and that about my body. And then I would just be like, okay, and we're gonna just kind of put that to the side and move on. And I would just be like, what I think about myself is probably not even that accurate. So I'm like, it's kind of very Aquarius and like a little bit dismissive and dissociative, but actually it helped me really gain some distance from this narrative that felt so oppressive. And
Mm.
then over time, I've worked in so many clubs, and admittedly, compared to other sex work industries, like the BDSM scene is like way more body positive. Like women of all shapes and sizes are like worshipped equally in the BDSM scene. Some strip clubs, and I've worked at one that terrorized me, unfortunately, but it was the only one that's ever treated me this way. But sometimes they're really like, they have a narrow vision of what their ideal woman looks like, even
Mm.
though, like, most men are very happy to appreciate, like, almost every woman's body. That is, like, I don't want to say almost every woman's body. Yes, they love women's bodies, period. The vision that strip club managers have is not always in alignment with reality. Sometimes I think it's like their fantasy that they're projecting, that that's what everybody wants. But I've worked in clubs where someone was like, "Hey, I don't want to hurt your feelings, but you're actually not like big enough for me." And I was like, "Really? Oh, oh, actually, cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You know what? Hell yeah."
Yeah. Yeah, which kind of like fucking with your own thoughts and perception of what they wanted. Breaking
Yes. I
that.
mean, so much
Yeah.
of the narrative is like you gotta be smaller, 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 and then have someone be like, "You're actually not big enough for me." I was like, that's amazing. Thank
And
you. I'm
yeah,
glad."
that is amazing. And like this is something that you also help your clients with to really just lean into their, like into their body and erotic power. And I'm sure like you
Hmm.
use a lot of somatic embodiment practices to really just feel good in your body and express that because it comes
Hmm.
from within. What is
Yes.
the tools and some practices that you use that you recommend to like, okay, start doing this to really like
Mm.
enhance
Yeah.
that feeling?
Yeah, I think like gazing at yourself naked in the mirror and giving yourself a lot of positive affirmations is important. Even, yeah, like looking at yourself naked, even taking your mirror downstairs, like really offering a lot of appreciation for the beauty of your body, I feel like has so much healing power. And then also I've worked in, so I mentioned some clubs are like narrow and strict about their beauty standards, and others that I've worked at, like they're dancers with like different disabilities, like maybe only like one leg and wearing a prosthetic, like women that are larger, women that are smaller, and the thing that connects all of them is like when you're feeling yourself and dancing is an energy that emanates from you. And so I think taking videos of yourself dancing and also having an
Yeah.
appreciation practice. I know you would love this, but like I've done this so much with myself where I'll be feeling bad about myself and then I'll take a video dancing. I'm like, you know what? Actually, I don't know. Something just, there's like a magic that comes through when you're dancing. It's like an
It's a
energy.
frequency. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It's, yeah, like it kind of helps to remind you that it's like not even necessarily about what your body is looking like. It's like how you're feeling in your body and how you're able to move and be in this space. Yeah.
Yeah. Ex-
Hmm.
or do you do like put up a pole in your living room and start
Yes.
to like walk around the pole like being sexy, making
Hmm.
like you bring your pole everywhere where you move, right? You
Yes.
put, yeah, you make your
Hmm.
stage like your pole stage, and I know you put on some lights and some
Hmm.
fairy details and some
Hmm.
really cool setup with that. I mean,
Thank
that is such
you.
a cool thing to do as well.
Hmm. Yeah, I've got three really big mirrors on the wall across. And so yeah, I do try to turn it into like a devotional practice of like just taking time to really admire yourself and your body for how it looks, but how it is, what it does for you. And yeah, I'll bring the pole. And I love to do floor work as well. And I think for anybody like wanting to start, just get if you're feeling uncomfortable and you're not sure how to connect with yourself, or when you do, it's just bringing up a lot of really difficult feelings. Like community is so important, and of course I'm creating some community, but like in your local area, like go take a pole class, take like a sexy heels class, take a floor work class. You could do lira, which is like the hoop in the air, but getting into these environments where there's a lot of women who are all making the choice to like feel a little bit sexy, and it's like outside of the male gaze. And you're
Yeah.
like feeling supported. A lot of times the women there will like cheer each other on and build each other up. And so I think that it's kind of twofold of like having the courage to just like explore what it feels like to be in your body and to move it, because so many of us have trauma. A lot of us have experienced like sexual trauma at some point, and so like that energy can get really locked up in your hips. So that usually comes through in like having difficulty moving your hips, and sometimes you don't even know that that's how your body is until, or is like in that moment, until you take a class where they're like, all right, now let's roll your spine, and then you're like, rolling my spine is like not working. And again, it's just one of those things where you have to start it and then get feedback of like, oh, this is where I'm at. Wow, this part of my body is really locked up. And then the more that you're able to move and create, like, breathe some new air into this part of your body and bring in some new messages from yourself, but also like a supportive community, that uh, it helps so much.
Yeah. Yeah, it helps so much. And just dancing in general, that is the thing that really has helped me to be more, I don't know,
Mm.
just to feel more confident also. And when you're
Hmm.
feeling confident and really just secure from within, it also helps to express your boundaries in like I don't know, it's just activates your voice and like your power in a way that you can express it more easily.
Absolutely. Yeah, so much is connected to your body and you feeling good in your body. And yeah, I think like the training wheels version of this, um, including speaking and moving in your body, that I have found to be the most effective is just like learning a few things, like learn some moves, like take a class, figure out a couple of things, or in regards to speaking, like at first I just worked on scripts of like, okay, if someone says, why do you charge that much? I don't want to give you money. Don't you trust me? Like, if I can just master my script at first and maybe make it,
Yeah.
it's like, first it's awkward, but then it becomes more comfortable. It becomes like the scaffolding of like, you learn a few things and then it gives you more freedom to be able to like improvise. And you know that you can always fall back to like, well, I took that pole class and I know that this move is sexy. And so, like, sometimes it starts with like just being in your head and feeling awkward and learning a few things. But then once you've gained the foundation, then you have so much space to like, it gives you the confidence to be able to explore more. That's what I've noticed.
It's true.
Hmm.
And I can also recommend the Brazilian Samba. That's the one that's been really activating me into
Yes.
exploring more part of like, oh my God, my body can do all of these moves and my hips can shake, my ass can do these movements. And like talking about the body rolls, like even though it looks
Hmm.
super awkward, just use the wall and just put your all parts of your body through the wall.
Hmm.
so much fun. And the
Yes.
music as well, like the music with a combination with movements, it just,
Hmm.
it does its magic.
It is magic. Yes.
Yeah.
And I would love to learn Brazilian samba. I've watched some videos online. It looks so good. Um, and that reminded me of something else, and that is limiting beliefs around this. Because I think whenever, like, if you're someone that's not feeling as connected to your body, or you're really struggling with like body dysmorphia, and maybe you've tried a little something and you find yourself to be locked up, and there's a temptation to be like, well, I just can't do it. Like,
Mm.
it's just not for me. And I will
Yeah.
tell you something, because I was always really transfixed by people twerking, but I had this story that like my butt's not big enough to do it, and I would just watch them and be like, wow, it's so beautiful, so mesmerizing. I'm like really like just so hypnotized by like these different isolations and stuff, but it's not for me. I could never. I just don't have the body. It's not my life. Like blah 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 blah. And then eventually I saw a woman who had a smaller frame than me twerking, and I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe I can figure this out.
You can. And I've been attending your 5 minutes twerk class and it was amazing.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's so much there. I think like, its roots are to be a very healing dance. And I think that like we're saying, so much energy can get stuck in your hips and moving them in whatever way, but though twerking is extremely fun,
Yeah.
can be so good. And actually that's another note of like if you're not feeling good about your body, like I'll do a little, booty shaking and then I'm like, actually kind of feeling sexy now.
Kind of feeling sexy now. And then you go for a little walk around the pole, and then you're like,
Hmm.
okay, let's roll on the day. I love it.
Yes.
And you said you are now like working on some community, and now we have a workshop, and
Hmm.
this podcast will be out after your workshop. But I'm
Hmm.
sure people can get their replay available maybe for it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to be doing some one-on-one coaching, and I have a
Mm.
group that I'm putting together. I don't have an exact launch date for it yet. I think it's going to be maybe sometime in the fall, or winter. But the program is called Return to Self, and it would be it's a 6 month program where we're doing equal parts like conversation and exploration of like how these different patterns around self-abandonment and patriarchy are showing up in our lives, and from like a place of love and care, not shame or like blame, but just like a loving exploration of where it's showing up so we can become more aware of it, and then starting to alchemize and move the energy through dance. And
Yeah.
then also incorporating art making, because one of the other parts of my life is that I'm an artist. And I think that art is like one of the most, I mean, creativity in general is like the pathway to the soul, and art can be so incredibly healing. And so currently, kind of what I'm cooking up is like using movement and dance to tap into like new energetic realities, and then making the art as like I love making it as like a spell, where you're like creating this visual that gets to like live around you, or maybe it just lives privately. It doesn't have to be for everyone. It's not about it being good, but putting the energy of like the next step of like what you're creating into the art. And it can also be a cathartic piece of like the energy of the past. But I have noticed in my healing journey that creating art about these things, and also creating art to bring about new futures, is so powerful.
It is powerful. And Lisa, if people want to connect with you,
Hmm.
where can they find you? What is the easiest way to connect with you? I will also, of course, put it in the show notes, but you can also
Yes,
share.
thank you. Yeah, the easiest way is going to be on Instagram. So my Instagram is at Lisa Laterno, LisaLeturno. I have links to my website, which connects to workshops and opportunities to work with me through coaching and eventually for the group that I'm going to be hosting.
This is so exciting, Lisa. And also check out her Instagram page. She has so many gems that she's sharing and expressing from her experience. So go follow her for some really inspirational, yeah, like girl power video. Like you are the voice for the matriarchy. Yes, you are. And
Mhm.
I'm really grateful. You're doing an amazing job. So thank you, Lisa.
Thank you so much, Corny. And thank you so much for having me on your show. It is so invigorating and fun to talk to you. Your energy is so infectious, and yeah, it
Thank
has been an
you.
absolute blast.
I
Mm.
mean, my heart is dancing. Like, I just want to turn on a song right now and go dance and shake my ass. I think I'm going to do
Yes,
that.
yes, me too.
That's the power. Oh, well, thank you
Mhm.
so much, Lisa, for coming. I am so
Mm.
grateful. So fun to connect with you as well. And thank you for sharing your beautiful energy and wisdom.
Yes, thank you so much for having me on. Thank you for being an incredible host. It has been such a pleasure, and I really appreciate you doing this with me.
Thank you.